Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Good morning. Hare Krishna. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 4, Text 14. Yes. Do word for word. Or word by word, I guess. Iti.
Iti.
Adrita.
Adita.
Ukta. Paramasya.
Paramasya.
Pumsa. Pratikshana.
Pratikshana.
Anugraha bhajana.
Anugraha Bhajana.
Aham.
Aham.
Sneha.
Sneha.
Uta.
Uta.
Roma.
Uma.
Skalita.
Skalita.
Akshara.
Akshara.
Tam.
Tam.
Munchan.
Munchan.
Sucha.
Shusha.
Pranjali.
Panjali.
Abase. Ababase.
Ababase.
Ityadrik. Ijadrakta Paramasya Pumsa.
Masya Pumsa.
Pratikshana Nugraha Bhajanoham.
Pratikshana Nugraha Bhajanoham.
Snehotaroma Skalita Sarastam.
Snehotaroma Skalita Sarastam.
Munchan Chucha Pranjalir Ababase.
Munchan Chucha Pranjalir Ababase.
Idyadrik Tritokta Paramasya Pumsa.
Ityadikokta Paramasya Pumsa.
Pratiksana Nugraha Bhajanoham.
Pratikshana Nugraha Bhajanoham.
Snehotaroma Skalitaksarastam.
Snehotaroma Skalitaksarastam.
Munchan Chucha Pranjalir Ababase.
Munchan Chucha Pranjalir Ababase.
Ityadrik Tokta Paramasya Pumsa.
Ityadikokta Paramasya Pumsa.
Pratikshana Graha Bhajanoham.
Pratikshana Nugraha Bhajanoham.
Snehotaroma Skalitaksarastam.
Snehotaroma Skalitaksarastam.
Munchan Chucha Pranjalir Ababase.
Munchan Chucha Pranjalir Ababase.
Ityadritokta Paramasya Pumsa.
Ityadikokta
Paramasya
Paramasya
Pumsa.
Pratikshana Nugraha Bhajanoham.
Pratikshana Nugraha Bhajanoham.
Snehotaroma Skalitaksarastam.
Snehotaroma Skalitaksarastam.
Munchan Chucha Pranjalir Ababase.
Munchan Shuka Pranjali
Abhavase
Ityaditokta Paramasya Pumsa
Ijadriktokta Paramasya Pumsa
Pratikshananugraha Bhajanoham
Pratikshananugraha Bhajanoham
Snehottaromas Skalitaksharastam
Snehotaroma Skalitaksarastam
Munchan Shuka Pranjali Abhavase
Mujan Chucha Pranjalir Abhavase. Would anyone online like to chant the verse?
Iti adriktata paramasya pumsa
Ichadruktokta Paramasya Pumsa
pratikshananugraha bhajanuham
Pratikshananugraha Bhajanoham
snehottaromaskalitaksharastam
Sehotaroma Skalitaksarastam
muchanchucha pranjalir abhavase
Mujan Chucha Pranjalir Abhavase. We'll do the word for word translation. Iti,
Iti
thus,
Thus
Adrita,
Adita
being favored,
being favored
Ukta,
Ukta
addressed,
addressed
Paramasya,
Paramasya
of the Supreme,
of the Supreme
Pumsa,
Pumsa
personality of Godhead,
Personality of Godhead
Pratikshana,
Pratikshana
every moment,
Every moment.
Anugraha Bhajana,
Bhajana
object of favor,
Object of favor.
Aham, myself, Sneha,
Sneha.
affection,
Affection
Uta,
Uta.
eruption,
Eruption
Roma, hairs on the body,
Everybody
Skalita,
Skalita
slackened,
Seconds
Akshara,
Akshara
of the eyes,
the eyes
Tam,
Tam
that,
That's
Munchan,
Munchan.
smearing, Sucha,
Sucha.
tears, Pranjali,
Manjali
with folded hands,
folded hands
Abhabase,
Abhavase
said. Say. Okay, said. Translation. Uddhava said, O Vidura, when I was thus favored at every moment by the Supreme Personality of Godhead and addressed by him with great affection, my words failed in tears and the hairs on my body erupted. After smearing my tears, I, with folded hands, spoke like this. That verse is worth sitting with, and at the same time, there's no purport. So we will read the next verse in translation. Ko niv ishate parasharo jabajam sudur laboriteshu chatushapiha tatapi naham pravinomi buman bhavat padambo jani shevano shukha. Translation. This is text 15 now. We started with 14. This is text 15. Oh my Lord, devotees who engage in the transcendental loving service of your lotus feet have no difficulty in achieving anything within the realm of the four principles of religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation. But oh, great one, as far as I am concerned, I have preferred only to engage in the loving service of your lotus feet. Purport. by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Those who are associated with the Lord in the Vaikuntha planets achieve all the bodily features of the Lord and appear to be the same as Lord Vishnu. Such liberation is called Sarupya Mukti, which is one of the 5 kinds of liberation. The devotees engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord never accept the Sayujya Mukti, or merging in the rays of the Lord called the Brahma Jyoti. The devotees can achieve not only liberation, but any success in the realm of religiosity, economic development, or sense gratification up to the standard of the demigods in their heavenly planets. But such a pure devotee as Uddhava refuses to accept all such facilities. A pure devotee wants simply to engage in the service of the Lord and does not consider his own personal benefit. Om Jnanatimimandasya Gnanjana Shalakaya Chakshun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurve Namaha. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swamini Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharni Nirvashesha Sunyavadi Paschatude Satarana. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Just read this translations again. We'll get started our discussion. I'm going to lead a class and discussion. So Uddhava said, "O Vidura, when I was thus favored at every moment by the Supreme Personality of Godhead and addressed by him with great affection, my words failed in tears and the hairs on my body erupted. After smearing my tears, I with folded hands spoke like this." And so then he said, Uddhava said, after wiping his tears and after his words failed him, he spoke like this. He said, "O my Lord, devotees who engage in the transcendental loving service of your lotus feet have no difficulty in achieving anything within the realm of the 4 principles of religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation. But, O Great One, as far as I am concerned, I have preferred only to engage in the loving service of your lotus feet." So this is Uddhava speaking. He was just being addressed by Krishna. Previous verses. So this first verse, text 14. First I'll say I'm here. My name is Parampara Das. I know everybody. And I'm here with Malini Devi Dasi, Rohini Devi Dasi, dear Govinda Prabhu. Online, there's Anandini and Anandini Devi Dasi, Bhakta Devin Prabhu. I'm giving a cheers to you, it looks like. Damayanti Devi Dasi and Garuda Prabhu. And at Bhakti Oasis, imagine there's Bhakti Danielle, Bhakti George there, maybe Saraswati around somewhere. And Bhakti Kim is here, and Gajendra Prabhu, Bhakti Tyler, Lakshmi Priya Devi Dasi, Rukmini Devi Dasi, and Bhakti Kelly. Here's to you for being here on a Sunday. So this, so we learn, everyone here, some experience with Sattva Tov seminars, and so we learn about empathy and to see the world from someone else's perspective and to put ourselves in the shoes of someone else to imagine their world. And so I remember a class I was leading, and Malini pointed out that the most sublime use of empathy is, or maybe a most sublime use, it's a really good one at least, is to use empathy and put ourselves in the shoes of these great personalities in Srimad Bhagavatam and or like Srila Prabhupada, to put ourselves in their shoes to really see the world from their perspective, and let's kind of get out of our perspective. So give up our 9 dots and our limited conception, and then see the world from these devotees' perspective. I just went to the doctor, and there was a nurse. The nurse that was it's the first time I've been to the doctor since like November of 2021, and so I went to the doctor, and the nurse was checking me in, and okay, so my weight has changed since November of 2021. I was 159 pounds at that time, and I'm 170 pounds now. And so there's 11 pounds difference. And so the nurse noted that, but she said, "Oh, that's nothing. That's fine. That's fine." And I was like, "Oh, really? Okay." And she said, yeah, because that was 2021. That was 2021. And I was like, "Oh, I don't know. I wasn't following that." But then she went on to express. She said, "That's nothing compared to what I see around here, and not even about me. Let me tell you about me." So then I could understand better. So apparently she had gained 55 pounds in the past maybe year or so. So from her perspective, in her world, 10 pounds was nothing. Don't even worry about it. Like she did not want me to worry about it. It would, if I was worrying about it, it would be a problem. Probably because then she would need to look at herself to say like, wow, this person's really upset about, has a distress about losing, gaining 10 pounds. And here I've gained 55 pounds. So it was really important for her to, don't worry about it. This is not a problem. Don't. So it was like really important for her. So she was not crossing the bridge, into my world, or even my wife's world, because I think my wife was more concerned than I was about the 10 pound. So yeah, that's a fresh example for me about there was opportunity there with that in that interaction. She would have said, "Oh wow, this person's upset about 10 pounds. What about me, 55?" To look deeply, or to support me in my oh wow, 10 pounds. I didn't even know that. I really didn't know that. And I was like, 159, and oh, really that much? So, but the moment was lost. The moment was lost. So here we we're reading about Uddhava. Uddhava is speaking to Vidura. Uddhava is speaking to Vidura, but he's recalling whenever Krishna was speaking to him, and then what he said to Krishna. So he's speaking to Vidura. So here's Uddhava, and he's so moved, he's so affected by Krishna's words that his own words have failed him in tears. So basically, Dear Govinda told a story yesterday about this with this Mataji who her words failed her when she was beginning to speak about Srila Prabhupada's books. So if it wasn't here yesterday, then this Mataji, Dear Govinda said, this Mataji was I want to sharing appreciation about Prabhupada's books. I want to appreciate Prabhupada's books. And then she broke down in tears, according to Dear Govinda. And so her words were failed her just by speaking about Srila Prabhupada's books. And so here so we've had that experience. We've all had that experience of our words failing us, or when we go to, maybe we've all had the experience, I'm not sure, but it's a common experience. I've had that experience where maybe you can remember as a child too, because it happens often as children, that they want to have something to say, and then maybe they just break down in tears. They're overwhelmed by the emotion of what they're experiencing, and can't speak. The words don't come out, break down in tears. So we can imagine. So we have empathy by dint of our own experience. We can relate to other people's experience by dint of our own experience. That's so So we can get some indication. Of course, it's a much different category. What Uddhava is experiencing, this like spiritual emotion, this overwhelming spiritual emotion, but still we can at least get some indication, because for me, it's hard to connect if I'm going to speak about Krishna. I haven't had that experience that when I go to speak about Krishna and then I get overwhelmed with tears. So what could that be like? What kind of indication? So we can imagine the kind of things that cause overwhelming emotion, in our lives, or we see in others, like our children, the kind of things. And then so here's like Vidura being moved to that kind of emotion by hearing Krishna's words, thinking of Krishna, remembering Krishna. In the earlier on in this canto, or when Vidura first comes into contact with Uddhava, first comes upon Uddhava, and then he asks so many questions to Uddhava, and then it's Uddhava's time to respond, and he doesn't respond right away. He describes that when it was time for Uddhava to speak, he was unable to answer immediately due to excessive anxiety at the remembrance of the Lord. Again, he was overwhelmed by this spiritual emotion, remembering Krishna when he was 5 years old, being absorbed in the service of Krishna. He's called by his mother for morning breakfast. He didn't wish to have it. And so he remained silent. His body did not move. He became absorbed in the nectar of remembering the Lord's lotus feet in devotional ecstasy. And he appeared to be going increasingly deeper into that ecstasy. I can imagine it, again, like I can imagine things that put me into anxiety. And then I kind of get carried away. I get some anxiety. I also have a certain kind of brain. Something catches my anxiety, and then I'm just somehow absorbed. I'm just taken away into this anxiety swirling around. But here, Uddhava's, I should imagine those kinds of anxieties that I get taken away with. Here, Uddhava's getting swept away in anxiety of remembering Krishna. And so, yeah, total ecstasy. Uddhava's experiencing total ecstasy. So to be carried away with that like devotional ecstasy, wiping tears of separation from his eyes. And so Vidura could understand that Uddhava had completely assimilated extensive love for the Lord. And then Uddhava came back from the abode of the Lord to the human plane, and wiping his eyes, he awakened his reminiscence of the past and spoke to Vidura in a pleasing mood. So this is who Uddhava is. This is the kind of personality that he is. He's completely assimilated love of God. And so yeah, it's an opportunity to just kind of sit and ponder, to be in curiosity, like, yeah, what is this Uddhava? What is he experiencing? What's that experience? So have some curiosity. So curiosity is helpful in like empathy and showing understanding, to be curious, like what is really going on? What is this? What is happening with this person? Just recently was reflecting on this empathic dialogue structure, and it's like it from Salvatore, or maybe it's from like Herval Hendricks or something like that. But so there's actually a few steps. And first is mirroring, like reflective listening, but then the next step is summarizing. But then the third step is a validation. So validation is like to understand, to make it make sense. That like this makes sense to me. what you're expressing, what your experience, basically that's it. What your experience makes sense to me. And here's why. And if it doesn't make sense, then let me understand. Let me figure out how it does make sense. And then empathize after that. Empathy after validation, after making it make sense, then empathy. So yeah, for some person having this kind of transcendental experience, how can I empathize unless I like does it make sense? How does this make sense? So I was actually, I don't have any realization about that, but I just wanted to share that it's an important part in understanding is logical understanding, having it make sense. It's not the most important thing, but yeah, for our intelligence and mind to be satisfied, so that we can like go, deeper, have deeper understanding. So I was looking at this, like it says, his hairs on his body erupted, and so that's I was looking that up actually, just 'cause I was curious about, because we've all had that goosebumps. It's like, of course, it's not the same. This is like spiritual ecstasy, but we've all had that experience of like goosebumps. And sometimes I looked up, even there's some people on the planet that can make themselves have goosebumps and make them go away, and it's just all kind of fascinating things like that. And but it's generally speaking, it's a fear response. It's a fear response, and like commonly seen. So it's fear, and then chills and goosebumps, things like that, called piloerection. And but then there's another category which the scientists or whatever nowadays, they have a certain like frisson, something like that. Maybe it's French. Maybe it's a French word. And that specifically is to do with the other category of like when we get the goosebumps and chills or shiver goes up the spine. Maybe it's from like music swelling at a certain time, or someone's passionate speech, or somebody says something that really strikes a chord, or some fond remembrance that we may have, like nostalgia or reminiscing, or they say even spiritual experience. So that gets into that category. So we've had that experience, and then it's like it's usually like a few seconds. It's usually a few seconds, that kind of experience. But here, like these pure devotees, like they're experiencing it not just for a few seconds. It's a different category, but still it's like helpful for me at least to like consider like what that might be like, based on my experience, and helps to give understanding of these personalities. So then verse 15, Uddhava says, "Oh my Lord, devotees who engage in the transcendental loving service of your lotus feet have no difficulty in achieving anything within the realm of the four principles of religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, or liberation. As far as I'm concerned, I prefer only to engage in the loving service of your lotus feet." So this is so it mentions religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, liberation. So it's also known as dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. So religiosity is one translation. Religiosity, like dharma. In the verse, it just says in the matter of the four objectives. So it doesn't actually state those in the Sanskrit, like those dharma, artha, kama, moksha. But those are just known as the four objectives. So there's like the four objectives that in human society that and so it's like four, so there's like, could be like four pillars in a way of the objectives of human society. So there's, living according to religiosity. And so that's like different than like the principles of bhakti. Religiosity is like doing your duty, like doing your duty according to like your position in society, or doing good works, doing good works, which can be, it can be part of religion or part of bhakti, but it's not necessarily. So, and then economic development, that's pretty straightforward. It's artha. So that's so much of society is driven by that. So, and then you have the economic development for sense gratification. So sense gratification, that's kama. So enjoyment, satisfying the senses, and then liberation is moksha. And then, and generally speaking, that is, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada mentions five different kinds of liberation. And he talks about one, Sarupya Mukti, which is when personality, after changing the body, they get a body in the Vaikuntha planets that is like the same quality as Lord Vishnu. So like a four-armed form of similar bodily features, like bodily complexion, and there's other forms of liberation where you even get some opulences and potencies, appear to be the same as Lord Vishnu. There's some different kind of liberations like that. That's kind of like mind-blowing in a sense, like because we hear about these devotees, these pure devotees, and again, trying to get into their world, trying to understand, with empathy. Like, I have no desire for liberation. I'm like, oh yeah, that sounds good. No desire for liberation. Yeah, me too. Yeah. but then, because and so it's one thing to think about like impersonal liberation, which Prabhupada mentions here, like merging in the rays of the Lord, called the Brahma Jyoti. So I can kind of get like, yeah, it's temporary, and if one is merged into the impersonal Brahman, that's temporary. It's not fully satisfying, not fully fulfilling. Oh yeah, I don't want that either. Yeah. But then this kind of liberation, it's a little bit different, a little bit tricky, at least for my mind, to like, oh, I don't desire that. Well, I don't know about that. Like, so to be on a Vaikuntha planet and to have bodily features like Lord Vishnu, and okay, do I not desire that kind of liberation? I'm not so sure about that. So it's a little bit more of a test, because you can say, oh yeah, this kind of maybe more material dharmic responsibility. Okay, yeah, I get to like, yeah, give that up, or not be attached to that. Economic development. Okay, yeah, I get that there's like all kind of problems associated with that. Sense gratification, that leads to a lot of problems. And then liberation, merging into the oneness, like that's a problem too. But then this sounds really good to be Vaikuntha planet, have opulences and powers. But someone like Uddhava is not even interested in that. Like, okay, that's something else. I need to make that make sense right now. That's not making sense. I need to make that make sense. So Prabhupada explains that so the devotees can achieve not only liberation, but any success in the realm of religiosity, economic development, or sense gratification, up to the standard of the demigods and the heavenly planet. But such a pure devotee as Uddhava refuses to accept all such facilities. A pure devotee wants simply to engage in the service of the Lord and does not consider his own personal benefit. So we can see that all of these things have to do with our own personal benefit. That's kind of being in my world. That's being in my own world. Like that woman, that nurse, it was about her personal benefit. She was yeah, you gain 10 pounds, that is not a big deal. Do not worry about that. It's everything's all good because it was for her personal benefit. She wasn't listening. So these things, my religiosity, it's like, okay, I get some good results by my good, following Dharma, and then my economic development, I get to enjoy more, and then my liberation, it's about me and what I'm gonna either give up or not have to experience, or what I am going to get to experience. So then this other category these pure devotees are in is not considering their own personal benefit at all, and just completely absorbed in the service of Krishna and the pure representative of Krishna, spiritual master. And so yeah, that's something for me to consider, so to be like, so that's like an opportunity of what would it be like to put myself in those shoes. What would that be like? Try that on. Try on a set of clothes, right? What would that be like? Try it on for a few days, maybe a lifetime. So yeah, not be considering my own personal benefit, and to be truly considering the what's going to please Krishna, what's pleasing to Krishna. So that, like, in the daily, like, what am I going to eat today? Okay, so I could say come from all these different perspectives of like what to eat today. And okay, if I offer it to Krishna, then that's purified, that's prasadam. But then, okay, I could be that's religious. Okay, nice, good. So that's religiosity. Yeah, I'm gonna do my project and then offer it to Krishna. And but then like another paradigm would be like, well, what would I have these deities here, or this Krishna's here in my home, and so like, I wonder what he wants to eat today. I wonder what would be pleasing for him. And we have experience, like I said, we can have some by dint of our own experience. So I can see, oh, my children, like, I don't care what I want. I don't care what I eat today, or I don't care what I want, but I know, oh, if we get this food, they'll be really happy with that. And so I'll eat that, So it's like a different perspective. What doesn't really matter what I want, or what I want to make them happy. So this is it's a bridge. It's a bridge to get there. We can think of experiences like that where we say, it doesn't really matter to me. I'm going to do what this person wants, and it's like, apparently, based on what we're reading here, by doing that, then there's these devotional ecstasies that are opened up by doing that. And not that that's the goal, to have experienced devotional ecstasy, but still it gives some indication of like, just like whenever we experience some of these mundane symptoms, like I get the chills, or the shiver goes up my spine. Oh, I just got goosebumps when I heard that person speak. There's like some indication there that like, oh, like I'm inspired by what this person said is inspiring to me. There's some indication there, or it's like a fear response. Oh, I just got to chill up my spine. That means stay away from that person. Or you get some indication. So like, it gives some indication, like on the right path, or maybe going on the wrong path, whatever. So these, so for these pure devotees, experiencing these symptoms, displaying these symptoms, it's like a sign or indication, just the same way like Uddhava's a pure devotees not wanting to experience these devotional ecstasies that get in the way of service. Like if I'm if like Uddhava's not able to speak because he's like overwhelmed, or like I don't know the personality, but he's trying to fan the Darka.
Okay, making the ice.
Oh, I was thinking like someone was fanning, or
I think that's a Akrura.
Aquarius.
Akrura. So he's like fanning Krishna,
Yeah.
but he's like cursing the tears that are like getting in the way of his service because it's getting in the way. So that's like but still these devotional ecstasies are listed, and they're for us to give some indication of like some understanding to how to understand, and what to look for, what to look for, and what to how to understand like a pure devotee's experience, and put ourselves in their shoes, and yeah. So that's what I wanted to express today. And so this, as far as what Srila Prabhupada is speaking this purport, so the for a devotee, these things are all come with the package. So with bhakti, bhakti is transcendental to these four objectives of human society, which are basically material. Forms of material. Even liberation is like a material negation. It's not. It's like bringing to zero. It's not like the spiritual positive aspect. So these are all. So bhakti is transcendental. Krishna bhakti is transcendental to these four objectives, and also Prabhupada says that these four are included. There's nothing. We're not missing out on anything. That these four things are included, and okay, I think I'll stay there. What time is it?
It's 8:52.
8:52. Okay, I'll read the verses in purport, or verses in translation. Ijadrikto tokta paramasya pumsa pratikshananu bhajanoham snehota roma skalitaksharastam muchanchucha panjali abhavase. Uddhava said, O Vidura, when I was thus favored at every moment by the Supreme Personality of Godhead and addressed by him with great affection, my words failed in tears, and the hairs of my body erupted. After smearing my tears, I, with folded hands, spoke like this. Ko nivishate para sarojabajam surdur labo riteshu chatushurapiha tatapinaham parinomi bhuman bhavat padambo jali shevanot sukha. O my Lord, devotees who engage in the transcendental loving service of your lotus feet have no difficulty in achieving anything within the realm of the four principles of religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation. But, oh, great one, as far as I'm concerned, I have preferred only to engage in the loving service of your lotus feet. Any comments or questions or sharing? Or I meant to have facilitated discussion. I didn't ask any questions or anything, but I'd be glad to hear anybody sharing that they would like to. Gajendra Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, good morning.
Hare Krishna.
I appreciated hearing from you about pure bhakti. I was relating and remembering a lot about the characteristics of pure devotional service as I was listening to you. I was also feeling a little bit amused by my own thoughts. I don't know if they'll be appreciated, but I was thinking that self-realization is actually the most effective form of weight control. Because if one is thinking, I weigh 60 pounds or I weigh 70 pounds, when you realize who you are, you realize all that weight is instantly gone, because at most you weigh 1/10,000th the tip of a hair.
Okay. Nice. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. Yeah. So pure bhakti, it's the self-realization. Yeah, the spirit soul, not the body. So instantly just lose all that weight immediately. Jai. Some liberation there.
That point of view, and then, okay, I'll take one same track. On the same track that self-realization is the best program for weight loss. Yes, or for giving up any toxic habits, is then self-realized, and it's sent like, towards the consciousness of Buddha. Then naturally it's like, yeah, I'll eat, consume whatever prasad will support me to use this body in Krishna's service, not less, not more. And so naturally I'll be balanced and healthy in my habits. And the same goes for any other habits: sleeping, eating, mating, whatever our recreation habits. Yeah, well, I'll engage in to whatever extent to keep the body and soul together, so I can use the body in Krishna's service. To the extent that I'm bhakti, self-realized, then it's the rising tide that lifts all ships, the one that gives value in front of the string of zeros. So from that point of view, too, bhakti, self-realization is the best weight loss program or weight gain program, depending whatever balance is.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. Appreciate that. So yeah, by it's like the value of what I'm sitting with, what I'm experiencing is, this try on a different perspective. Try on this. Okay, I've been trying for so long to arrange my life, or make a life, following these kind of things: economic development, religiosity, sense gratification, liberation. Wanting to not experience certain miseries, have liberation from those, and get some, have some peace inside, and make enough money to be able to do this thing and that thing, and to enjoy. And so coming from that perspective, and like, okay, so it works like this, but look how it's worked. Look how this alternate perspective, and look how it's working for pure devotees like Uddhava and Srila Prabhupada. Look how it's working for them. So try on this alternate perspective of getting out of my world, getting out of my box. Don't be like that nurse, who's it's not a problem, but no. Be like, oh, what is the problem? Oh, is there a problem? And let me understand what that is, and how can I serve you and support you? And so so maybe Krishna seems rather lofty, but we can do it practically with things like food and offering, boga, and thinking about making choices like that. And then like, oh, what kind of sounds should be in the house today? What kind of noises and sounds should be playing or happening in this? Well, what would be pleasing to Krishna to be hearing on the altar? And then much more and maybe more applicable to all areas of life is, okay, so pleasing the pure representative of Krishna, so Srila Prabhupada, so what would be, okay, what would be pleasing to Srila Prabhupada? And I get that it's like there's a balance there that just like there's past times where devotees, coming to Prabhupada, oh, Prabhupada, what should we do? What would make you happy? And Prabhupada's, well, Krishna wants to know what you want to do, or so there's like there's a healthy place for like and it happens in Sattva seminars of like, oh, what do I want? Because maybe for so long I've just been like going with what society wants and kind of these infallible soldiers, right? So it's like the different institutions or what my parents want or what would look good to my friends or whatever. So
They are the fallible soldiers.
they're right. Going with the fallible soldiers. And so putting faith and putting confidence or putting decision making in those hands. And so like, okay, so it's a good thing. Like, no, what do I want? What do I want? I want to be the creator of my life. And so that's like some reclaiming some agency and that's powerful. And then kind of what I experienced a little, from more advanced devotees and pure devotees, like Uddhava is then like, okay, but then well, at some point it doesn't really matter so much what I want. I mean, okay, not to be like, again, it's like a balance, or to like not to be honest with ourselves where we're at, and to not be like victim-y about like, oh, it doesn't matter what I want, I just want to do what Krishna wants, right? But that there is a place, there is another stage where, yeah, it doesn't really matter what I want, and it doesn't matter what I want to eat, just like we meet with the kids. It doesn't matter what I want to eat. It doesn't. So that's like a small example. It gets bigger. Like, well, it doesn't really matter what I do for a living. It doesn't really matter who I spend time with. It doesn't really matter, who I talk to on a daily basis or whatever. Like, it doesn't really matter so much to me. And so let me arrange my life so that whatever I'm doing every day for a living, or whatever I'm working, or who I'm talking to, who I'm being with, is I'm making those decisions based on what would be pleasing to Srila Prabhupada and what would be supportive to him, just like, to develop that like empathy with like Srila Prabhupada, like, oh, what's happening? What's happening for you, Srila? What's the what's the burden, that you're experiencing? Not that Prabhupada's experiencing like problems, like material problems, but yeah, how can I support you? What's happening, to understand, not to victim me, like, tell me what to do, or like, with our intelligence turned off or our brain turned off, but really to be like, yeah, so what are you facing right now? What are the issues that Srila Prabhupada in his movement, what is he facing right now? What are the problems, and what does he need help with, and what does where can I fit in? And so anyway, these are kind of I'm considering these perspectives, and like how it could be a shift. It could be a paradigm shift to get out of my own world. Any other comments, Malini?
Yesterday I was doing meditation in and we are speaking about identifying with the soul journey, and not identifying with this lifetime, because we have so many lifetimes, so many things happen in so many of those lifetimes.
Right.
And then, that devotee was sharing a meditation of like really like identifying with some verses from the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, one precisely in fact, for the soul there is never birth nor death, nor having once been to, he never cease to be. He is unborn, eternal, ever existing, undying, primal, and is not slain when the body is slain. So that's basic, I'm not this body. kind of. And then the devotee was sharing how, well, that's not it. That's not enough. Because, like it's about, like, Uddhava right now is manifesting complete selflessness. It seems that it's complete selflessness. Still, the soul is individual at all time. And so when he was a Vasu, he was meditating that he wanted to associate with the Lord. And so it seems not anymore selfless, like of a desire. It's like my desire, as a Vasu, and then Krishna fulfill his desire. And so that's all. I was just, as I was listening to him, to you, I was remembering that conversation and remembering like if we go to selfless without individuality, that's impersonalism.
Yeah.
And if we go to selfish with individuality, then we go back to material conditioning. And the balance there to be in service to Krishna, to the pure devotee in a selfless way, while 100% maintaining a true sense of individuality.
Nice. I appreciate that. Yes, that's to, because without that individuality, then it becomes impersonalism, and then that's not pleasing to Krishna, to Prabhupada either, because to have
There's nothing to enjoy.
there's nothing to enjoy, because for Krishna to enjoy, then that's why we have free will. That's why we have individuality, because you can understand that. It makes sense logically. And then if we give that up to be completely selfless, then it's no longer actually selfless. It's like some self-serving there to give up, to be completely
Give up individuality, yes. It's
Right.
suicide, spiritual suicide.
So that's it.
We are like in 2 days, we do class on. Can you talk about the college? I just want to go back to God and finish this play, and it's sort of like that, because it's not like I want to increase my service for Prabhupada today. If that means taking on more management, if that means chanting more rounds, of course that's the back to God mentality. But the way you depicted it, and I can see that myself, and hear from Joy, as I go back to Godhead, it's sort of like I want relief from material miseries. I want the negation of the material. I want relief of material miseries. So here's what I don't want. And but it's not like positively like, oh yes, I want to, here's how I want to serve. I want to increase my service. So it's kind of like a Vaishnava or pseudo Vaishnava form of the impersonal moksha, I want to go to the forest. I want to escape because I'm so frustrated with trying to enjoy in material life. So we're like trained to say, I just want to go back to God because I just want to merge with the Brahma Gyoti. Well, that doesn't sound right for a devotee. But so what do we positively want? Because like negation of the material in itself is not spiritual.
Hare Krishna. I can think like Malini's in your class on Friday, I think you were saying so much like about impersonalism, and Prabhupada speaks about impersonalism so much, and like, why does he do that? So we can understand, why does he do that? Be curious and empathize. What's happening? Because he knows how strong that tendency is. Well, it's like, it's his whole mission, like kind of like a warrior-like mentality to root out that impersonalism from the heart of all living entities. So like he's very intense about that and very intent about it. And you can see how so much subtly it can come into, even like Vaishnava or Hare Krishna, thinking or societies, and I'm imagining, I'm thinking also it's helpful to know, like, to know about the different kinds of like liberation and things, and to almost like a personality test to, like, like, oh, what am I interested in? Because it's interesting to me that I was never like a big heaven person, like to go to heaven. And so that's a lot of times I go back to Godhead, kind of just, is that heaven again? It's just kind of like die and go to heaven kind of thing. And I just never was attracted to that kind of objective, or that kind of liberation, so to speak. I'm just like, not to deal with anything. It's like never attracted me. I imagine some people it is attractive. So it's like, it's kind of helpful to study impersonalism in a way, to like to see, well, what does my impersonalism look like? Because I think impersonalism looks different for different people, and so it's like helpful to see, like, well, what does it look like whenever I'm going to question to be in? What does impersonalism look like for me? What does it look like for me whenever I'm going to impersonalism? And I think I know for myself, not like going to the Brahma Jyoti, whatever, heaven, merging, Godhead, even Godhead. I don't know. I can't. It doesn't relate. But something like, to get some like bodily features, like Lord Vishnu. Now, wait a minute. Now we're on to something. So okay. Yeah. So that's. And go ahead. Well, it's a kind of a question, because like retain individuality. So I'm pondering, like, what does that look like? I think for me, I'm kind of mentioned earlier, like, you keep our intelligence switched on, because it's not like it's not like laziness, just like, okay, I'll just do whatever you want to do. It's kind of like the wife, the relationship is, where do you want to go eat? Oh, I don't care. We go wherever you want to go. But it's not really. But whatever I pick is the wrong place. So it doesn't really matter where you want. No, that's not in between us necessarily, but it's a common thing between men and women, that the woman says, it's like, oh, the man says, where do you want to go eat? What do you want to have for dinner? And the woman says, oh, I don't care. You pick. But then the man, whatever the man picks, is the wrong thing. And then finally you find the thing that she wanted or whatever, after a few trial and error. So it's like, it's not like I want to give up my individuality, which means my, that's my question. What is individuality? It's like some desire, we have desires, right? So it's like, we don't want to give up our desires, or our, there is a spiritual intelligence. There's a spiritual intelligence, and we have a spiritual identity, that a spiritual personality. I mean, that's one thing that's so unique and special about Krishna consciousness, and the words that Srila Prabhupada chose to describe it, is that word. Krishna described it as a supreme personality, and in English we have so much connotation with personality. So there's a reason why Srila Prabhupada chose that term. That personality means likes and dislikes and things they like to do, and sense of humor, and a certain kind of, there's so that, like, it seems to me that Srila Prabhupada chose that for a meaning, because there's so much that comes with a personality. It's not just a certain way of thinking, a certain way of feeling, so anyway, that's kind of what I'm imagining.
I'm just,
this conversation is perhaps, and I don't know, perhaps our individuality is expressed through the relationship we have with Paramatma, and because the desire that's in our heart is like given to us. It's very personal. I feel like I don't know. I'm just thinking about like when we follow the desire, when we're if someone's a pure devotee, then or maybe perhaps not even a pure devotee, just someone who's connected to Paramatma and they're receiving and really listening to Paramatma, then Paramatma is going to guide us, and it's a very personal relationship based on and how we I guess show up for that service is maybe we were being guided to go to Greenville or go to do different. The guidance is that, and then the way we do that is our expressed in with our own flavor of who we are. But I feel like I don't know. That's just what's coming up.
Yeah, but whatever we have is given to us by God in a sense. So like if we have the desires, then that's given it to us by God. So it's like to try to give that up is like or to give up our nature in a certain sense is like kind of rejecting God in a way. We give it up. Molly, would you?
Well, what I wanted to say is not connected to them. But what I wanted to say is Sarupya Mukti is described by Srila Prabhupada as, like it's a spiritual realization, like merging into the oneness. The soul is going to at one point fall or go further. The Swarupa Mukti is like the soul can stay there. And I wonder if there is a connection with, like the owning of individuality and the different situation in the spiritual world. That's what I was wondering, because the Vaikuntha planet, they are full of souls liberating in the Swarupya Mukti. So Swarupya Mukti is described by Srila Prabhupada as, it's on the other side of the Viraj River. It is a destination. It's a destination.
Right. It is going back to Godhead.
It is going back
It is
to
going back to
Godhead.
Godhead.
Yeah.
So I am attracted to going back to
And
Godhead.
so
That's my
I'm wondering, like, I'm just as we are discussing, I'm looking at that individuality again, and I'm wondering, like, the different realization of our identity, how it brings us closer and closer and closer, and creates intimacy with Krishna. Maybe in Sarupya, we're looking at the devotee doesn't want that because it doesn't manifest its full individuality in its relationship with Krishna. And the Vaikuntha planets are, inhabited with unlimited amounts of spirit souls that are in the spiritual world.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that sharing. And I'm also that distinction that this mukti, this liberation is a form of going back to Godhead. So I was maybe not speaking clearly before about that. So that it is a spiritual realization. Rukmini?
Yeah, I wanted to add, related to what Rohini was expressing, that I like the direction that she was taking this, to point to a deeper sense of what it means. The personality is not just our likes and dislikes. It's not those, expressions of our conditioning, wherever they were, given this life and previous lives, but the personality, it's really more related closely to the soul.
Mm.
And so that's the direction that she was pointing. It's more like a, you know, the soul in relationship to the super soul and to Krishna. And so that really spoke to me more than, you know, those other expressions that related to so-called choosing choices, but it's, you know, more like a shallow or the shadow expressions of our personality.
Mm.
Mhm.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, we're touched by that Rohini was sharing that about the relationship, the Paramatma, the personality, the personal relationship, Paramatma in the heart. Hare Krishna.
Well,
Haribo Daru.
yeah, I was just thinking of something that Acharya once said, sure, Acharya, that like, well, I like what you were saying about never really want to be going to heaven. Well, part of that is that there's no information about heaven. Like, what are you gonna do? Just floating on a cloud and halfway up between here and heaven and just shoot arrows at birds flying by, as Gary Larson once said, hey, you think we're supposed to be doing out here? I mean, what do? You just play a harp forever on a cloud. It's just there's no information. It's not that attractive to want to go there. And yet when you know, finally with the Brahma Sanghita here, the place where every word is singing and every step is dancing. That's pretty cool. So I mean, and like Charlie said too, like, well, Hawaii, I love this example. He said that Hawaii has always been there, but then they started advertising flights going there because it got, you know, we're talking the 50s or something, they could get you over there easy. And they'd show you getting leis and the beautiful, you know, flowers. And so the point is, everyone started putting it in their plans because now they knew, whoa, this is a good place. Similarly, but before that, no one even thought of going to Hawaii because they didn't know what it was. So before Prabhupada brought over these books, there was no information about what heaven is. And so no one put it in their travel plans or their intention of wanting to go there as a purpose of life. But now we have so much more information that it makes more sense to like at least begin to think about it, you know?
Yeah,
So-
yeah. Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, because just in this conversation, I'm connecting some things because I mentioned like, oh, going back to Godhead, that's not so attractive. But then I'll go to Sarupya Mukti, that is attractive. Oh, that is going back to Godhead.
The weight of the Lord.
Was that
The weight of the Lord.
the weight of the Lord?
Wake up.
Oh, yeah. So and then but it helps me to also give some more perspective and understanding about Uddhava, pure devotees like Uddhava too, because pure devotees don't even want that, don't even want that liberation, don't even want it, just not said, oh, I don't care if I go back to Godhead, I'll be in the hellish planets, I'll be in the, I'll stay here on earth, whatever, that doesn't even matter. So it's like, yeah, this is helpful, gives even more understanding of these like pure devotees. Thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.